What's up, everyone? Again, this is Dantron69K coming at you with a new episode of Law. I'm super thrilled to be here with some special guests. Of course, the most special guest that I have is actually my co-pilot, co-host, right
Stop
over
it.
there, Wolfman.
So,
Down below me, what do we got in the PlayStation shirt?
What it do, EHA? Whales in the house.
And a very special first time on camera scene, kind of
Endgame
angling.
Arcade.
There he is. Endgame. Thanks,
Hey,
guys,
thanks
for being
for
here.
having me. Been a big fan of the show ever since the beginning, so I'm honored to be here.
Oh, man, it's going to be fun. Those of you that don't know how we run the show, this is the first time you've stumbled upon this. We are a one and done. We set it and forget it like a crock pot. We sit down on our couches like we're hanging out with each other, and we just talk games. There is no fancy editing. There's none of that. So it happens here live. I'm going to throw it now back to my man Wolf to talk about what we're going to be talking about today.
so today's episodes is pretty cool. I think it's we're gonna be doing the PlayStation 2, which is correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, the highest grossing in as far as net sales video game system of all time, at somewhere around 155 to 156 million units sold, which is unbelievable. And PlayStation 2 arrived in North America October 26, 2000, and had a 13-year lifespan.
Whoa.
So the library is vast and intense. So today's episode will cover absolutely nothing, like an eyelash on a blue whale's ass. So we're definitely going to have to go back and cover this again and do a PS2, volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. And I hope that Whales and Endgame could come back as well.
Sure.
Yeah, this system was one of those ones that, like Wolf talked about, is just was out for a long time. Big library, vast selection with all the types of Japanese style games that came in, all the just normal Sony first party stuff, which everybody knows about. It was a lot of fun. There's, as you can see, Wales held up a version of the original. How many of you had that one? My original one was that one until it had some issues, and so then I got the slim version.
Yeah.
Got that one too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so I remember. Go ahead, Wales.
No, you go ahead. I'm trying to see make sure this is like model 101 Terminator style, because this is my OG. This is what 2001. So this is 22 years old, and it worked yesterday. I mean,
Nice.
it's a beast. And then just another caveat with it is, like, so the PlayStation 1 had the ability to listen to like audio CDs in it stuff, right? Like you could do that with it. The PlayStation 2, which made it also super awesome, was the ability to play DVDs in it and stuff. And so I remember taking this to college, playing games, and then when realized you can get movies, the very first DVD I ever bought movie wise was Fast and Furious, and I remember popping that in here and playing or watching that video in my college dorm. And I bought so many DVDs, I got the remote with it, so I could just sit back and watch DVDs and all that stuff with it. So it's a very, very amazing system, different abilities with it, and I'm just happy to be here and discuss it with you guys.
The best part about that whole story, Wales, was the first movie you put in there was Fast and the Furious. They one of the absolute worst car movies ever. Don't get me wrong, it's entertaining, but it's like blowing the wells
Yes.
on the intake. I'm like, what? That's the car guys.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, what is happening here? I don't know. That's
I almost
awesome.
had you. I almost had you.
So good. But yeah, so just quickly, Wales gave a little bit of a history thing on the PlayStation 2. I'm going to touch on mine really fast too, as I was in the point of really getting into multiplayer games. I mean, I got the bug back when the original N64 came out, and it was 4-player right off the gate. So this being a next, little bit later, I was already looking for that kind of stuff. So this had the multi-tap. There was already games. There was even a few launch games that came out that were 4-player with the multi-tap. So it had me sold even at that. This is one of the ones that I pre-ordered and got. I won't say that I did that with every system, but most of my systems I pre-ordered the system when they were coming out. But I remember I have fond memories of playing this with my friends, watching movies on it, like Wales talked about, and some of those. Now, you know what? I'm not even going to go down that path because this is a kids show. So we will pass it on to somebody else that wants any. Endgame, you got anything on your memories with the PlayStation?
Like you, the DVD player was a big seller for me. Definitely had to get it to play DVDs, like Wales said. The memory cards were a big thing as well to store all your saves. You could bring them over to your friend's place. They actually had little slots in the cases where you could put your memory card, so that way you don't get them lost. There you go, there you go, Wolf.
Yeah, very cool.
What about you, Wolf? What's your memory with just the console in general?
Nerd fact.
Yes!
Oh my god.
Yes!
Hit everybody with the nerd fact.
He's gonna do it.
First nerd fact. Let's go with it.
Yes.
All right. So I'm shocked that nobody said this just yet. So there's 2 quick points. One is PS2 was backwards compatible with PS1,
Yep.
which was a huge selling point for me because
How did I forget?
I was kind of apprehensive about getting it because I was having so much fun with my PS1, and then I found out, well, wait a minute, you get this new system, try out some new games, better graphics, and I could still play, my old PS1 library. But, it was interesting, like, to hear Wales say that he used his PS2 to play movies, because it is an absolute known fact that the people that played movies and gamed at the same using their machine for both, it would burn out the laser tremendously faster than just somebody that was using it for gaming. And I thought that was interesting.
Mhm.
So
That
there's your
happened to
little
me.
nerd fact.
That happened to me. So nerd fact again. Yes, that does happen. It's weird because you think, oh, it's a DVD drive based game, right? So that maybe all the games that were PlayStation 2 would come out for DVD in that medium. There wasn't. Like newer PlayStation 2 games, some were in the DVD format, some were in the other format. It was just old CD based. So it was just a weird. And you know what? I think like Wales, yours still works. It had something to do, I think, with how the actual drive, like the actual laser, because there was different manufacturers, right? It's not all like Sony parts and stuff. Kind of like the Xbox had that, where there were certain drives that would play games better than other drives and things of that nature. And that was one of the common things with the PS2s as well. So
I guess I got the scan golden PS2, I guess, that just like won't stop working.
It can't stop, won't stop.
Yep.
Yeah,
You're lucky.
I mean, I am, and so I will treat this as another one of my children.
How does it smell? How does it smell right now? Just tell us.
Smells like victory.
Oh,
Like
that too.
victory. Well, just real quick before we get started, I guess another fact would be, since we are a retro gaming show and we like to show the games and talk about it and tell people what they're getting involved in price wise and so forth, any mofo that has the entire PS2 North American collection, you have my utmost respect if you're out there. 4,000 plus games. If you own the whole library, then you are winning at life. What could I say? I have about 550, which is they're like falling all over the place in my back closet. So if you could imagine 4,000 plus games, that's insane.
I like it. That is a huge thing. One last thing about the hardware. Library goes into it, hardware goes into it too. This one did have an add-on for online broadband as well. Just wanted to touch on that. So because that had started with like GameCube-ish is when they first came out with like the broadband capabilities. Of course, it went into Dreamcast and all that. Everybody knows those ones for that. But this one actually had that as well. It wasn't used as much. It was more used for, because I had it, and it was more used for if I remember right, like just like web surfing and stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of games that actually had the broadband gameplay available with it. It was a very small, out of that huge library, very, very small amount of games that actually utilized it and actually in a good way. So just last nerd fact on the hardware.
EverQuest was one of them, right? That used
Yep.
the broadband.
Yep.
Yep.
And
And I think
Fantasy
Resident
Star.
Evil Outbreak was one as well.
Yep. Fantasy
Mhm.
Star Online, I think, was another big one, if I remember right. But yeah, not very many though. Okay, so we're gonna go into first games. You want to do first games? We're gonna go over. So, how we normally do this, again, if you're new to the show here, is we're gonna go around and we're gonna talk about games that we remember playing that have a special place in our heart. Not necessarily favorites. Some of them can be, but that's not necessarily the way that they go. In no real order, but a lot of times, me personally, I'll usually keep like some of my more favorite games that is in my few that I'm gonna talk about towards the end. But yeah, so if nobody has anything else they want to start on, I can fire the first one up if you guys want.
Do it.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
fire the first shot.
all right, first shot over the bow is actually, it's going to be kind of a two for one, and it's going to be the Kingdom Hearts series, Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. If you can see behind me, my Keyblade right here.
Nice.
So I am
It's so great.
I am a fan of the Final Fantasy setup, and those of you that know, it was Final Fantasy is Square Enix. They're
Yep.
the same developers. So with that being said, I had to try this one out because I mean, really, who doesn't want to play a Final Fantasy style game with Disney characters murdering? Well, most of the time they're like black nothing little creatures things, but still, it was a very, very unique game in that those two you never really saw up until that point where you had like a major, like almost like a movie studio, Disney in particular, something big mixing with the game industry in a way that was very unique. And it caught me off guard. Really, it did. At
Mhm.
first, I was kind of like, I'm not quite so sure about this, but they had such a wide library of media and what was it, worlds that they could use and draw
Yep.
from really easy. And so when I started playing them, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's not like you're in one world. Again, I'm not knocking the one world stuff, but it's not like you're in one world and then you're just kind of moving through different zones in that world. No, this was like full on different worlds. You had like, you might be in Hercules, and then all of a sudden you're jumping into some of and it's just it blew my mind, and I was like, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good one for people that weren't really into video games either, that they could sit and watch and enjoy it because they're like, oh, I recognize this from fill in the blank, some movie or some show. And it was really, really a cool experience for my wife at that time too. Actually, she was my girlfriend. Nope, she wasn't even my girlfriend at that time. It was, oh wait, sorry, old girlfriend. That's ooh, hang on, I don't know.
Scratch back, rewind.
Yeah, no, we do it live. But my girlfriend at the time was not big into video games, and she really enjoyed watching this game. Actually, both of those, because they were lots of fun. They were visually pleasing, and yeah, I really like that series itself. Anybody else got something on those ones?
Yeah, for sure. Did you know that there's actually a game that takes place between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 that was released on the Game Boy Advance? And then they remade it for PlayStation 2, and it's Chain of Memories.
Ah, yeah.
And this is one of the early remakes of video games, actually, where they remade a Game Boy Advance game into a PlayStation 2 game. And it is pretty critical for the story, actually, because it takes place between the two games.
Right.
So definitely something fun.
Does link it.
Did not know that.
That is
Didn't
awesome.
know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't either. That's especially
Wow.
going from a cross-system thing from a Nintendo
Right.
to then a rival, I guess, at the time being Sony. So that's interesting. That's
And if
pretty
you know
impressive.
anything at all about the characters in Kingdom Hearts 2, you have the Organization 13.
Yeah.
Half of those characters are only in the Game Boy Advance game. So it is pretty critical to actually learn what happened to them and stuff. So it's worth going out of your way to play. And it's based on a card-based system as well. So it's different from the action RPG game. So there's like randomly generated levels and stuff. It uses a lot of the same worlds that the other Kingdom Hearts use, but definitely worth checking out if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan.
You know what? You just reminded me of card-based games. There was what was it? One of those ones. Was it similar to like the Metal Gear one that was on PS?
Metal Gear Acid.
Yeah, was it similar to that? Because I liked that one a lot too.
Yeah, it's a little different because you actually do run around and move your character around.
Okay.
And basically, when you want to attack, random cards will come up based on what's in your deck. And then you might want to do a spell, but it didn't trigger. So then you have to do your normal attacks until your spell card flips into your deck. It's interesting.
That's cool.
Definitely fun. Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. I like those ones that have that added depth, and it's just a little different, kind of like we were talking about Double Dash. It's still Mario Kart, but it's a little different. I like that. That makes me want to actually fire it up. It's a good thing that I have access to that game at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. PlayStation 2 or Game Boy Advance, whichever one you want.
Or
the cutscenes are definitely better on the PlayStation 2, though.
Yeah. There's also other ways. You know what I'm saying? So. All right. So anybody else play that game? Have memories of anybody playing that game? Want to just look at my sword a little bit more?
Yeah, I never played the game, but I heard Goofy didn't yuck around in that game a lot. So
Goofy didn't give a yuck for sure.
Yeah. I just remember the movie posters where he was like all this, like all ready to just. I'm like, dang, Goofy is pissed in this.
Angry.
Yeah.
Oh, and one last cool thing about the Kingdom Hearts is they added super difficult boss battles against Sephiroth. I always enjoyed trying to tackle him because he was very difficult.
Yes, he's always difficult. For some reason, Square wants to have like one uber hard character, and it's always freaking Sephiroth. Every single time, oh man, we need a hard character. Let's reskin what we normally have done with Sephiroth and just use him basically as the main bad guy again. I'm like, all right, alrighty.
Yeah. High print runs, folks, which is good. So if you're a collector, that means you could get these in the wild. I have seen them at flea markets. They're very reasonable. Kingdom Hearts 1's going for about $11 to $12, and Kingdom Hearts 2 is going for about $12 to $13.
Out of the two, I still think 2 is probably the better of them. If you had to choose. Yeah, and you can just fire up 2 and still be fine. You don't have to play through the original or the awesome in between one that Endgame just brought up. But yeah, this one is probably my favorite one. Sweet. All right, Wolf, are you up next?
I am.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, so I guess the next game that I'm going to show is at day I'm a teacher, and at night I'm a wild man.
Ooh.
Chips, dips, chains, and whips.
You and your Castlevania.
Oh boy.
The Castlevania games for PS2. One of my favorite series is Castlevania. Konami, put out Lament of Innocence first, which is cool. And then Curse of Darkness. Or do I have that backwards? Was it Curse of Darkness and then Lament of Innocence? I can't remember, but they are both awesome games. They're a lot of fun. They're platformers, kind of harkens back to the NES days of Simon Belmont, except it's obviously better graphics, awesome weapons, bigger sprites, bombastic sound. And if you're a platformer fan, this is I think it's a must play for PS2. These both of these Castlevania games are awesome.
Look at that artwork. Hold up that first one that you had. What was it, Lament?
Seriously.
That artwork on that one in your left hand there, Wolf. Yeah, that one right there.
This one?
Yeah. That is just beautiful. Like, that artwork will catch you off guard. I've never even seen that game. That game.
And here's Curse of Darkness, which is, I think, equally
cool.
as good.
Yeah, that looks cool too. Man,
looks good.
How many Castlevania games do you have, Wolf? If you just had to guess, how many do you have across all platforms?
Well, I have them all. So
minus your Megacade. We're not going to talk about that one.
I'm talking physical copies. I have them all. Like, going back to the original Game Boy, they're all boxed. It's just one of my favorite series. So I'd say it's probably around 20.
That's what I was going to say.
Right around there, 15 to 20. You
But-
know, if you count handhelds and stuff.
But do you have the absolute worst Castlevania game? And I'm gonna see if you can guess which one it is. Do you have it?
The worst.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the one for Wii, the
Mm,
fighting game.
there's even one
Judgment.
worse than that.
Oh my god, because that one's
Endgame.
bad.
Endgame probably knows where I'm going.
I don't. I'm
Oh.
curious though. I want to hear.
All right. Does anybody have any guess?
Give me the system, and I could probably.
N64.
Oh, okay.
Oh my
Castlevania
god!
64.
Yeah, there was two. I have both of them, of course.
Then you
There's,
do. That
I do.
the first one on N64. I don't remember what it was called. It was just maybe it was just called Castlevania 64.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Castlevania
Yep.
64. That's what it was. Yeah.
Freaking awful. Like you get all excited about it, and it's just the graphics were terrible. The controls were all clunky, and I was just like, "What is this?"
Yep. Garbage.
So was that a 3D game instead of a 2D
Mhm.
platformer?
Yes.
Yep.
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 That was
It
the
did
first.
not translate at all. To
And they
the
kept
N64.
trying.
I think that's why I skipped the PlayStation 2 games is because of that game.
Yeah, they kept trying, like Castlevania in 3D. Like they figured it out though for the Dreamcast one, right? They started to develop it. They're like, this is
Mhm.
going more along the lines of Castlevania 64. Cut it, because
Mhm.
good for them. Because anyways,
And the other one was Legacy of Darkness, which was Castlevania 64, but I think it had like additional levels, and they polished up the graphics a little bit better, and it's basically the same game. There's just some differences.
and was it any better?
Oh no.
Okay, there we
No,
go.
It was hot vomit, both of them.
Oh.
And the only thing that equates to that is that Wii game, which was like a fighting, it was like a Castlevania. Oh, it was just like, I'm like, what are you doing? They're trying to do something new, and it just didn't work. It was terrible.
Yeah, Castlevania Fighter. I mean, I get trying to spruce it up or try something new, but that route.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try it on your Megacade. It's called Judgment, and it is, oh my God.
It's getting some. It's getting some judgment right now. I can sense it in your voice.
Yeah. You are.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Have you guys realized that there are certain games that are so bad that you have to own them? Like they're legendarily bad. It's the same thing with certain movies. Like this is just so bad, I just have to get it. And then sometimes those are the most expensive games too, and I'm like, all right, I don't need it that bad.
Oh,
Yep.
I can rattle off a couple right now. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Hey, as Wales, is that you next? Are you falling one out now?
I can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I will bring out a game that's not very popular, but it's based off a movie. And before you freak out, because most movie-based games are just awful, this one is actually a gem where in most articles I've read is top 10 of all systems, like movie-based games that like just don't get attention. And most of you guys know me. I'm not a first-person or third-person shooter. I'm slowly getting to that fact just because I've met you awesome guys and we've been playing and I'm starting to enjoy it just because I'm just playing with cool people and stuff and I'm starting to just have fun with it. But I never bought the games. I wasn't a big fan of it. But this one is one of my top 3 Marvel characters of all time. So my favorite Marvel character is Wolverine. And my second one is the Punisher.
Oh.
So this is a third-person shooter that is based off the movie that not a lot of people really watched or appreciated. It had, especially with a Punisher character being named Thomas Jane and stuff. But the main villain of that was John Travolta, who did a really good job. And this game it's made by THQ, so it's an actual a decent, well-known company. But it's so much fun because you get to be the Punisher as it's a third-person shooter. And it's not based off the movie entirely. It follows its own storyline. Thomas Jane actually voices the Punisher in the game from the movie, and he actually did a really good job. And the cool factor about this is that the first level is kind of based off the movie, but then after that it branches off and does its own thing. And it's even got other Marvel characters in it that weren't in the movie, like Black Widow. You go to Stark Industries and you have a level with like Iron Man, stuff like that. My favorite level in this game, and it's the fastest level and it's the easiest level, is actually based off the movie where the Russian actually comes and attacks the Punisher. And there's nothing more comical than hearing in a English dialect, a Russian telling him after you throw boiling hot water in him, because it's like a you battle throughout the apartment and stuff like that, for someone to just say like, "You hurt me, you stupid American pig," and it's so much fun. I actually have not beaten it. I've got to the second to last level, and I'm at the, it's like some kind of Chinese den where you finally get to the overlord with it, and he ends up committing harakiri, and you have to let him do it, because if you just shoot him or whatever, then everybody attacks you. But if you let him commit harakiri, then all of his other people will follow suit. But then the door's shut, and then you get ambushed by the entire building, and you have to survive it for 5 minutes. And I haven't got past that part, but it's a great game. Oh, well, talking about the game and inserts, there's one of my missing memory cards that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So this is
Surprise.
the surprise. Yeah, this is the one that has like Spy Hunter, my fighting, Tekken, Mortal Kombat stuff. I had 2 cards. I had one for this, and then I had a sports one. But it has a war journal with it. The amount of weapons in it is really, really good. They're all based off real life weapons, and you can accrue them and customize them. And if you get a chance, it's actually a lot of fun. A fun fact about the game, this was actually originally adults only.
Oh.
Yep.
And the reason that it is mature is because there are interrogation scenes in here. You can use somebody as a human shield as you progress through levels and stuff to rack up more points the more times you kill people and don't get shot. There's instant kill things, so you have to interrogate certain people, and they're noted throughout the game. They have the Punisher skull above them, so you know that they have information that you need. And you can take them anywhere around the level, and there's certain interrogation parts where like you put them like close to like a fireplace that's going, or one of them is in a zoo. You put them near like a rhino's lit, and the rhino's like charging at them and stuff. And you can, after you get the info form, you can either go ahead and finish that interrogation scene and kill them upright, or just keep them, and you get more points when you don't kill them. But originally everything was in color, so every gory detail in these interrogation scenes, if you decide to off them, were in color, and they refused to let the game come out. And so what they ended up doing is now when you decide to off them in that, it goes to black and white. It's just black and white on that point. And all the PlayStation 2 and Xbox both went with that route. So did the PC version. But of course, people on PC worlds know how to mod games. So they went in and took out that code. And so the only way you can see those interrogation scenes in all their gory color and everything is to mod the PC version of this game. But that's the reason it was able to be released as mature, is they black and whited those death scenes.
You know what?
That's cool.
I have to say one thing. So before you pulled that game out and you started talking about a Marvel or a video game based on some sort of TV or movie, I was worried that all of a sudden something was going to happen in the world and it was going to be like Wales disconnected. Boop. Oh, sorry, you're gone now. That game just nuked you out of existence. But no, good choice. That's a great game, dude. Great game. I remember playing it only once, and I enjoyed it. My friend had it, and so yeah, it reminded me of actually of Spawn a little bit. You remember Spawn on Dreamcast?
Yep. Yes.
It reminded me a lot of that. And so if you guys like that type, yeah, for sure. Good choice, Wales. Man, dope.
$55 too. It's an expensive game.
Is long, I guess, fully with the game and instruction manual, but yeah, I ain't giving it up. I still would like to beat it at some point.
More than that, with your memory card in there.
No, well, yeah, no, I'm glad I found that, because that was the one I was missing. So there you go.
Bonus.
Awesome.
End game.
All right.
Endgame's
the
up.
first game that I'm going to talk about is actually the game that got me to buy my PlayStation 2. I was in college, like Wales at the time. Went to a party, saw some people playing this game, and I'm like, I like video games. I'm going to go see what they're checking out. And I was blown away by this game. It was another mature game, Grand Theft Auto 3. So this game blended genres really well, I felt like. You had third-person shooting, and then you also had driving in a game. And at that time, you didn't really have that in games. And another game that I thought was another thing about this game is that it's open world. So you could drive around the city listening to radio stations. They had awesome rock music in the game. They had a really funny chatterbox radio station that was worth just driving around the city. And yeah, Wales, you have a map there. that you want to show?
This is the map that came with the game that I still have, and so it breaks up because it was first. Same thing with me is it was the first open world, so you start at Stanton Island, and then you would unlock what was the next place, Portland, and then lastly it was Shoreside Vale. But yeah, this kind of it came with the game. It was I never really used it, but I love the art and everything that's with
For
it.
sure.
And
It
I mean, it was there we go. But yeah, it's a great game.
It really helped immerse you into the game, that it made you feel like the city was alive and breathing. And when I bought the game, my roommates and I, we would take turns playing the game. So we'd pass the controller and we'd just try to cause as much chaos as we could, get our wanted level up. If you get your wanted level to like 3 stars, 4 stars, the SWAT team starts coming after you, the FBI and these armored vehicles. Eventually the military comes after you with tanks. And basically we'd be like, oh yeah, top that. Pass the controller to our friend. They would try to cause as much chaos. There was awesome cheat codes for the game as well, which were amazing. Definitely an awesome game. And there was actually 2 other games on the PlayStation 2 as well, which is Vice City. And this was my personal favorite. It added helicopters, motorcycles, boats, and jet skis. Had an awesome 80s vibe to it. You could actually purchase property in it. Really cool game. And then the last game was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And this game was absolutely massive. I'll show you the map in a second here. Just a massive game. You had Hollywood, you had San Francisco, you had Las Vegas with the casino heist, you had everywhere in between with like deserts and mountains. You could find jetpacks, UFOs. Absolutely ridiculous. These games were definitely ahead of their time. And even if you weren't a gamer, you stopped when you saw someone playing this game because it was mature rated for a reason. Any of you guys play the Grand Theft Autos on PlayStation 2?
Yep,
all right,
got it. So yeah.
Endgame, it's so funny you mention all that stuff and you always give a good history and background of stuff. I mean, for me, it was the first time I played a game where you could pick up a prostitute, do the dirty deed in the back seat, pay her money, and then shoot her, and then you could take back the money. And then you could continue.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one that did that.
So,
and fun fact with that is because I'm glad I'm not the only one that did that, because that was just hysterical doing. But if you got in a regular car, yeah, you would do the test the shocks out and all that other stuff. But did you know if you got in, say, the Banshee or a convertible car, you still got it done, even though you didn't have to stop because they couldn't, because then you might see stuff with that not being enclosed. She was basically taking care of you while you were driving, because then your ability to drive worsened and you couldn't drive as good as you could until the deed was done, and then you would.
So it sounds like that's a Dantron approved game.
Oh,
absolutely.
Totally
Dantron approved.
However,
hot coffee, my man.
However,
there you go, Will.
All right, here we go. So I am definitely going to catch flack, and actually when I bring this up, and those of you that have heard me talk about this before, I catch flack for this. I am not personally a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. You'd think, yeah, I like open world stuff. I like causing chaos and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I just couldn't get into that game. Not to say that I didn't stop and watch people play it when they were playing it. Because, again, Endgame, straight up. You see 100%. You see somebody playing those games, you're going to be like, ooh, what just happened? But then for me, then I'm like, oh, they shot a rocket at a school bus full of kids. All right. I mean, it's, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, wait, not 100% awesome, but still awesome at the same time. I'm conflicted. I don't know. And then, but definitely there is a place for all games, right? And there's a lot of people that love that. I'm in the minority, I think, when it comes to Grand Theft, but not to say that I don't think Grand Theft Auto games aren't worthy of a checkout, for sure, because I have tried them before, again, but I'm more of the little bit on the more weird side. So the games that are Grand Theft Auto like, but even more out of control, you know what I'm talking about, Saints Row, something like
Saints
that.
Row, yep.
So
I can get down with that, right? I can get down with that for a little bit, but the Grand Theft Auto, just for me, wasn't 100% my favorite, but I did play a fair bit of it. So awesome choice, Endgame.
What I thought was interesting too about the Grand Theft Autos, it was the first game that I spent hours playing without doing a single mission. Like, it was fun just messing around. And to your point, Dan, you don't have to blow stuff up if you don't want to. You can just drive around and do taxi missions like Crazy Taxi, or if you want to just obey the speed limit, obey the traffic lights, you can do that and just rock out to the awesome radio stations. So
Yeah, I would
you do what you want in the
I would
game,
try and
basically.
steal. Yeah, I would try and steal a police car, or my favorite was the fire engine. I just go put out fires,
Yep.
or
Yeah,
get an
you can do
ambulance
that.
and go help people. And I would like see how many people you could save and everything. Like I did that. Like that was,
Yep.
like you said, it wasn't even mission bay or part of the actual story, but I'd do days just doing that. Or like you said, being Crazy Taxi.
Yep.
It was fun.
And you got rewarded. They gave you cash for doing those side missions. They thought about it and put it in the game. And they did penalize you if you got busted by the cops. You went to jail. They took all your weapons, and you had to pay to get out of it. And same if you got killed, you actually went to the hospital, and you had to pay your hospital bill and lost all your weapons as well. So they definitely did punish you if you were messing around. So
Look at you trying to get me to play this again.
yeah,
You guys,
come
you're
on.
trying to sell me on this, and I'm almost sold again. Almost.
No. Almost, but not quite.
Yeah,
I'm almost there.
because
I'm almost there.
you
I'm
could-
almost
you-
there, you guys.
you could be the firefighter and you could put out the fire and it's cool. And then everybody that came to watch, if they wouldn't get back, you can turn the hose on them and they would fly down the sidewalk and stuff. And then you just drive off and be like, yeah, okay, next fire.
You guys are firing me up on some songs too. We didn't start the fire.
It's probably
Nice.
one of the games. I mean, they have a phenomenal soundtrack in those.
They
Grand
do.
Theft Auto
Oh,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Vice City for sure had the best.
yeah,
I love
for
Vice
sure.
City.
The 80s.
Yeah.
Michael
Yes,
Jackson, some awesome
flock
stuff.
flock of seagulls. I'm good.
Yep.
Mhm. Now, Endgame, you know that I know you showed the 3 games. There were 2 more Grand Theft
Yep.
Auto games
Yep.
for PS2. There
Yeah,
was
the-
Vice City
the Liberty City
Stories
Stories
and
and
Liberty
those.
City Stories.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fun games as well. They returned to the Liberty City from
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto 3, and what was the other one? Vice City.
Vice City
Vice
Stories,
City,
yeah.
Vice City Stories. Yeah.
Yep. I never actually had those or played those. I just played the main 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're fun.
Yep.
All right, Larson, you're up.
Me back up? All right. So
Back up.
this one is actually, I believe, for me, this is probably the hidden gem on PlayStation 2 for me. And it's a library, and a lot of times people are going, what the heck is that? Okay, those of you, Wales, I know you know him. Wolf, I know you know him. Our buddy Bill Rimmer. So he's big into games, and we were at an arcade, and I said, dude, you need to play this game over here. And he's like, dude, it looks ridiculous. I'm not going to play that. It looks dumb. I said, Bill, we're friends. Trust me. Play it. He's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. He goes play some other stuff, but I see him looking at it over there still. And he's like, that just looks dumb. And I'm like, trust me, go play it. He went and played it, and then and I was like watching him. He was getting into it, and I just went and did my own thing. And then he comes back to me, and I was like, what'd you think? And he goes, dude, that was awesome. That was way better. than... He says, I had no idea how fun that was. And I was like, darn right. So this one I do believe is a hidden gem when it comes to just games in general, especially if you like rhythm games. And
Yep.
what I'm going to hold up here is Taiko Drum Master for PlayStation 2. As a matter of fact, so this box is so ridiculously huge because it actually came with a Taiko drum. I know we're not normally talking about peripherals, but I'll just kind of show it real quick. This is what a Taiko drum is, right? It's a drum, and so you had strikes in the center and you had strikes on the outside. So it was a rhythm-based game, almost like just a drumming style game, but it had like Japanese style music. It also had some Nintendo music stuff built into it. You know, sometimes you'll get Super Mario themes, F-Zero themes all into this, and it's just it's wild, and it shouldn't be as awesome as it is, but it is. As a matter of fact, I bought 2 full Taiko Drum Master. I still have one that's sealed because I haven't cracked it open, but I bought it because it's so much fun and I wanted to use 2 Taiko drums. So it is a very, very cool game. I'm pretty sure that none of you have most likely played this one. Am I guessing right?
Nope.
This is
Nope,
on your
negative.
list now. I'm just telling you. So hang on. I'm gonna just gonna give you a second because I know you guys probably haven't played it, so you're not gonna have to talk about it. But so I'm gonna give you some of the song lists really quick, just so you have an idea. So there's ABC by the Jackson 5. There's some Bowling for Soup from the Jimmy Neutron theme. There's Killer Queen. Lady Marmalade is on here. Love Shack. My Sharona. There's and then get this. Then there's Slide, Goo Goo Dolls. There's Toxic from who was it that did Toxic?
Britney Spears?
No, not that. I don't think it's that one, but it could be.
Okay.
Tub Thumping. There's
Chumbawamba.
Yep, there you go. And then there's like then you go on and there's Dragon Ball Z. So if you're an anime fan, there's like Dragon Ball Z music in here. There's classical music. There's the Beethoven's Symphony of the Fifth. There's like there's all kinds of stuff in here. It's just crazy how much Soul Calibur 2. It's just this game. If you have a way to play it, if you have the ability to play it, I don't care if it's emulated or whatnot. It is a ton of fun. You can play it on a control panel, and you can play it with just normal controllers. But if you ever get a chance to play this game with the Taiko drum, or if you're out in an arcade and you see one of these Taiko Drum Master style games, I know there's probably, I think the last one I saw was like 10 or 11 that I saw at an arcade. So there's tons and tons of these things. Just try it. Trust me. Try it. Play it. I can almost guarantee 9 times out of 10, you're going to be like, dude, that was fun. I want to do that again, because this is one of those fun games, the fun factor. But you look at it, you're like, that looks ridiculous. It is awesome. So anyways, there's my next choice.
Yeah, Dan, real quick, I played the Guitar Hero on PlayStation 2, and I was kind of like your friend Bill, like, why do I want to play this? This game's so shallow. You use this awkward controller. Once my friend said, nope, come over, let's play it. We jammed all weekend. I had to buy my own set because there's just so much fun. So I definitely understand the fun factor.
I didn't start playing those until PlayStation 3, and I did the same thing. We would go over after softball games, and because we would have the whole set, and I was the best guitarist, but everybody wanted to do it, and nobody could do drums, but I was decent at it, so I always got stuck doing the drums. And we'd set it up to where the guitar people sat on the sides of the thing. I sat in the back of the house room and stuff, because that's where the drums are, and the vocals was in the middle, and we just went to town, man. It was good stuff.
So awesome. You said $75 for the whole
75 for a complete
with the Taiko drum.
Wow.
That is super cost effective. Like to get the Taiko drum controller with the game for that's dirt. Like it is.
I was expecting more.
It's just not well known. I don't think. I think that's. Yeah. I'm just guessing. It's just not as well known, but it's a dope game. So, anyways, all right. Who's up? Wolf.
All right,
Wolf, this is my friend. Wolf it out.
All right. So let's keep with the unusual, Larson. You got Taiko drum, which, by the way, I've played a lot of games, so I'm gonna take your recommendation to heart. I'll see if I could find that and play it.
Right.
I love weird, unusual, niche type of games. They always end up becoming hidden gems later on in a video game's life cycle. But this game is equivalent to having a giant edible that's about 10 feet tall and climbing on top of it and just starting to devour it from the top. And then after 4 or 5 bites, you start seeing things and it's blurry, and then it comes into go, oh my God. I don't know if you've ever played this game or have heard of it, Katamari Damacy. And it is, I've never played a game like this in my life. I don't even know how to explain it. It's
I don't know how I would explain that game either. I'm just like the weird freaking heads
and I was like, the food?
I mean, you tried.
Like
A+ for effort, Wolf.
Super weird head shapes and all kind. Yeah, it's so cool.
Like the king in the sky is, he's got his chub cam on, and just it's insanity. And I guess real quick, to make a long story short, that the goal of the game is you're like this little guy right here. I don't know if you could see it. And he is pushing like this like trash in the world. And then as you like push into other things, it sticks into the ball and gets bigger. So the name of the game is you want to try to get your ball as big as possible by rolling over as many things as you can.
Did I see that ball was blue? So you're getting huge blue balls is what you're doing.
It is.
I noticed as well.
Yes. but it is very addicting and super fun, and it is a hidden gem. Very weird, but I think everybody should try this game. It's Katamari Damacy.
I just thought it up, Wolf, after listening to you. There is a good way to describe that. A
What's that?
a high Japanese anime fever dream. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It's super
And,
fun.
Yes,
Super
Endgame
fun.
talked about fun factor and stuff like this. That game has it in spades. I mean, if you just want an unusual, weird Eastern Hemisphere type of game, that's it. It's really neat.
Dope. Good choice.
Nice.
Good choice. Does anybody else have anything? Have you guys played that game? I haven't. I
Never
played
heard
it.
of it.
I played it and I didn't own it. It was another one of those that my friend had, kind of like well, I don't someone might talk about that game later. But yeah, there was a few games I'm just like, I don't know, and you try it and you're just like, dude, this is weird, but I like it.
Yeah.
I am not sure I was going to like this weirdness, but I guess I'm weird because I like this game a lot.
To me, Kingdom Hearts was weird. I was a big Final Fantasy fan.
Yep.
All of a sudden, these Disney characters invade. You got this convoluted story. That's my level of weird. Wolf,
Yep.
you've taken it to the next level.
Yeah, that's the next level.
Right. We're on this level, but we need to get to this level.
This level.
This level, we need to get up here. Oh man. All right, Wales, what you got, brother?
Good stuff, man. All right, so you went with the peripheral, so I'm going to go ahead and stay true to that. So it's not going to be an uncommon as takeaways and stuff, but the peripherals that I'm going to be showing to play this game are going to be a couple of these bad boys, which are GunCon 2s, and they were able to also be linked up with the additional cord for dual wielding action, which I know you're a fan of, Larson, and stuff. And so to use these guns came with what, in my opinion, is my favorite and one of the better gun series out there, and it was out for PlayStation 2, and that is Time Crisis 2 and Time Crisis 3. Of the two, I prefer, yes, the box. I had the Time Crisis 2 box for the GunCon 2s. Those are the GunCon 3s, I believe. But I love these games. Playing them in arcade was a new experience, having the whole step on the pedal to interact and do that stuff with it. And then it was in our what was it called? It was our university. It was like the, I guess, lounge area or whatever and stuff, and they had Time Crisis 2, and I always had an hour and a half in between classes, and every day I would go and spend at least $5 playing that game. And so I had everything down, memorized and pat and stuff. And then when it came out for PlayStation 2, I was so excited. And then the other cool thing is that it was just like the arcade. It was perfect. It was a great port. Real easy to use. The guns, syncing them up, it's real simple. 3 went a little bit different in the story, meaning that it gave you the ability to change different types of guns. Like in Time Crisis 2, you always had a handgun, and then you were given a machine gun at certain points of the game. Or, it would change this. Time Crisis 3 added the aspect of depending on how many times you shot certain enemies, you could get machine guns, or you can get grenade launchers, or you could get a shotgun. And you would have to be hiding and then pull the trigger, and that would cycle between which weapon you wanted to use. So at any given time, you could play the game with a different type of weapon as opposed to the regular handgun. But Time Crisis came out for PlayStation, and then 2 and 3 came out for the 2, and absolutely love these games all the way up to Time Crisis 5 that's out now. If you haven't given the series a play yet, I strongly recommend you do so. The only part is it's hard to play these games now because you have to have a CRT TV. They're not going to work with modern day televisions, which is a big drag. But I still have my old CRT, and I was able to do some gameplay with it this past summer, and it still works just like they did back then. So I know some of you guys have probably played this game. I mean, also the House of the Dead series is another solid one, but Time Crisis 2 especially, probably my favorite shooting game of all time. So what do y'all think?
Well,
Yeah,
real quick, Endgame. I don't mean to
Yep. No, go for it.
cut in here, but this is my favorite Gun Con package. It is a Vampire Night, and if you've never played Vampire Night, it is a fun light gun game. You get the what is it? The Gun Con 2 in there, just like you said, Wales. Easy to hook up, sync up, and it is just totally fun. I love Time Crisis 2 and 3 too, but Vampire Night, I don't know. A lot of people haven't heard of that. It's kind of like a, I don't want to say hidden gem, but it's one of the lesser known of the Gun Con 2 series, light gun games.
Yeah, so real quick on I know I never had the Gun Con 1, but the big addition between the 1 and the 2, between just going with guns, is they put on the Gun Con 2, they made an ambidextrous button, so it's on both sides. So that way, instead of just being on one side, it was able to be both sides. They also, they still incorporated the bottom button, which was the C. But the big thing that they added to was the directional pad on the back. That was not on the Gun Con 1s. And so when you were dual wielding, it was hard to do it because you had to put your fingers on the same side, or you had to try and like play with your knee up and shoot or whatever and stuff. Whereas this one, when they added the D-pad in the back, you could hold either one you wanted. So when you're dual wielding with it, you could sit here and just press down, which is what I did, and that would trigger it, and you could just go to town. And it was a lot less cumbersome than the Gun Con 1. So that was a big push for me.
Nice. I have a few things to add. I loved the fact that the Time Crisis home console versions added the Crisis Mission mode, which were additional missions and challenges that weren't in the arcade. It definitely felt like it was worth the extra price that you're paying to buy the guns, because you got all these extra modes, and they definitely utilized the timing and precision from the arcade games that you'd know and love. One thing that I used to do with my home console is to replicate the foot pedal, is I would put a second controller on the ground, and if you push, like, I think the X button with your foot, it would replicate stepping on the pedal. So nice. I had my gun in one hand, pressing on the controller for my thing on the other. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then another thing, am I still there?
Yeah, no, you froze. You froze up.
Oh, sorry. Somebody's calling in here.
Yeah, there you go. You're good.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
No, not anymore. You just went away again.
Jeez, it's like somebody put a sheet over you.
Yeah. We do it live.
Yep.
We hear you.
You were there for a second.
Let's see.
Totally doing it live. There we are.
There we go.
Yeah, Endgame's back.
That's right. Technology.
Sorry about that. Somebody called in on my tablet here. And another thing I really enjoyed was there's an additional game on the PlayStation 2 called Time Crisis Crisis Zone.
Crisis Zone.
And this one was more fun in the arcade because you actually had like a machine gun. And the big hook on this game was destructible environments. So you could they encourage you to just blow everything up. And it was a spectacle in the arcades. But you lost some of that timing and precision that the Time Crisis 2 and Time Crisis 3 had. So that was the thing that I really enjoyed in the arcade. Not quite as much fun at home. Still worth playing, though, for sure.
Yeah, I have that as well. But I'm more into like getting high accuracy. I don't want to just spray everything around and stuff and whatnot. But no, absolutely solid game. And then I remember there was one that was like, it was like an almost police trainer side game. It was on 2 or 3 as the side game, and then a skeet shoot that was also equally fun. So definitely good replay value.
I remember playing the Time Crisis 3 console, but also in the arcades with a friend of mine that's no longer with me. So that one holds a special place in my heart. So not only was that game tons of fun, but that's why we do this, right? It's some of these games we talk about and those memories come back up, and the nostalgia and the way that they make you smile and feel. That's more important, really, than you even playing the games nowadays, right? It's what you remember, the feelings that they bring up. So thanks for reminding me about that one, Wales. I really appreciate that. That's great.
You're good, dude. Anything to do, and yeah, that's best times, man.
All right, so who's up now? Is it Endgame?
What's up?
Yep, I'm up next.
I'm listening.
There's a lot of awesome fighting games on the PlayStation 2. We'll be talking about a bunch of them. The one that I'm going to talk about is focusing on weapon combat, and of course that's Soul Calibur 2.
Oh,
and
yes.
This game's definitely a lot of fun because all the characters have different unique weapons that you battle with. You could also do ring outs, so you could knock out your opponent off like a cliff to get a cheap victory. Or if you're battling on this raft going down a river, you could bait your opponent in, counter them, and chuck them off the raft. It was really fun. One thing that this game had was like a weapons mode. So there's like a lot of different characters that you could unlock, like 10 different weapons for each of the characters, and that you had different objectives that you had to do to unlock those. So it added replay value, and you could unlock like joke weapons for the characters, as well as like ultimate weapons that were the best weapons in the game. Really fun. And then the last thing I wanted to point out about this game is this game actually had specific guest characters depending on which console you bought it for. This game had Heihachi from Tekken as the guest character. Although I have heard a rumor, let me know if you guys have heard this rumor, that it was supposed to be Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII, and then at the last second, that deal fell through, so that's why they had to pivot and go with Heihachi.
Interesting.
I've heard that too.
Have you heard that?
I heard that too, and that was right before. I want to say right before the game was actually, because was it just before it was released or a couple of months prior to the release? Because they were showing, they weren't really showing who was on what at that point. And yeah, I do remember that it was like, oh, there was something about that they had to add Heihachi. And I was like, well, why were they had these other ones? Why did they have to add it? Yeah, because of, I think that's what you were saying. Yeah.
Yep. And then if you did have any of the other versions, the GameCube version had Link from The Legend of Zelda, which was fantastic. And then, of course, the Xbox version had Spawn, Todd McFarlane's comic book creation, which was really cool. And nowadays, of course, they have DLC, or pre-order bonuses for these characters. But back then when this happened, I felt like this was an added character that only I had because I had a PlayStation 2. Or my friend that had the GameCube, that was a bonus character getting Link because he supported Nintendo. So it didn't feel nefarious at all. It actually felt like an added bonus back then. And I thought that was a cool thing about the Soul Calibur game.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Any of you guys play Soul Calibur or not really?
Heck yes.
Oh, yeah.
All of us played all the way back to Soul Blade. You know all that.
There you
stuff.
go.
Yeah,
Yep, PlayStation 1.
Yeah, it's,
Definitely.
Kleek was probably my dude. Was at with the nunchucks and stuff. But
Yep.
yeah, it was,
I would have thought Ivy for you, Larson.
yeah. I mean, I do like the female characters. Don't get me wrong. You're right. Ivy was one for sure. But
Yeah.
she didn't. I don't know. She didn't play as well as for my play style. She was a little bit different. But if I wanted to enjoy some eye candy, then of course Ivy's coming out. But
Sure.
I didn't really play it very much, at least on the PlayStation. I would play it a lot on Xbox, so because Spawn was just amazing and flowed with the game and everything. And so we would do Spawn, but I was a cheat butt with it. I can't think of the character's name, but he was the fencer or whatever. It had the sword or something. You could just sit there and just like flick the stick, and he would just like do like a quick 5-hit combo close or whatever,
like
and stuff.
Raphael or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, he was just he had a little fencing sword, and he was just so quick and stuff. And it was just like you just button mashed, and I would pull off stupid combos, and they're like, you can't pick him anymore. So it was funny. I remember just because we do the same thing. Winner stayed, loser passed the controller and stuff. So like once I got to like 10, they're like, pick somebody new. I was like, fine, because it's not my fighting. Like I didn't know a lot of stuff. You're just button mashing, and yeah, it was lots of fun.
Beautiful games.
Awesome.
Those were beautiful games too. They
were.
They always, every single Soul Calibur, Soul Blade, they always pushed the limits of visually what a fighting game could do. They weren't slow either. So for instance, the more visually appealing the 3D fighter got, just in my opinion, like Virtua Fighters, any of that kind of stuff, the slower the games played. This one, they never slowed down. They were always fast, they were always crisp, and they always had beautiful graphics. So
and sound.
Yep, sound as well.
The
You're
music
right, absolutely
was amazing.
right. So,
yes.
And the levels were good too. It didn't just feel like it was, there was nothing in the background. You actually felt like you were in a place. So excellent choice, Endgame. Not that you need my approval, but yeah, that's dope. Dope choice.
And of course, they had the announcer that said the tale of two swords, transcending history and all that good stuff. Very memorable.
For sure. We're back around? We spun it back
Made
around?
it up. Round 3. Let's go, Larson.
Round 3 it is. Okay, so my next one is I'm going to do a wolf and say it's in this hand right here. This one hand. It's missing. I don't know where it's at. It's in one of my things.
Oh, what is it? I'll hold it up for you.
It is Devil May Cry, the first one. Devil May Cry, that game, yep, that's the exact same case that I got too. If I could freaking find the thing. So Devil May Cry for me, there's going to be some fun facts I want Endgame to talk about because he mentioned it when we were talking a little bit a while ago. But Devil May Cry for me is a super fun action game that had so much depth in your ability to juggle. Like it was just wild because the game design, the level design was fantastic. The characters were fun. It never felt super repetitive. Beautiful Devil May Cry 2. So this game and yep, all of them. We're up to what? Is it 5 or 6 right now? 5? 5, I think. 5 was the last one. So, but it's, you got sword play, you got gun play, all at the same time. Like, the first time that I got in there, and there's a freaking heavy metal riff going on, and you're walking down, like, and Dante doesn't just walk. That boy struts. And as he's walking, right, he's a bad mofo walking down the hallway, and you see something coming at you, it's like, oh, it's on, buddy. You whip out your sword, you freaking hit him in the air, you throw a couple of shots into him, and then you smash him again with your sword, and it just explodes, and you're just like, and you just keep going like it's nobody's business, all while the metal riffs are just hitting as you're going down. You're just like, this is awesome, just keep going. Just, you don't want it to stop. And so that game for me was one of my favorite games actually on PlayStation 2. And of course the other versions are got, but I remember the special place in my heart was for the absolute first one, because I hadn't played anything like that. The way that it moved, the just how it played, it felt so polished. It wasn't like it was just they had thrown pieces together and it worked. And when you find out, the special hint that Endgame's going to talk about is that it wasn't that way at the beginning, right? It was different. And so, but Devil May Cry was also a DVD-based game. And so that was the game that first told me that my DVD drive was going bad, because that game started to have difficulties in loading. And I was like, nah. And that was before, like, the interwebs were out there. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of, like, talk groups and wikis and all that kind of stuff. So you'd start having these problems, and you thought you were the only person that was having this problem. You talked to all your other friends that have PlayStation 2s. None of them were having these issues, and you're just like, I don't know what's going on. But then you come to find out now through the life that was a hardware issue. It wasn't necessarily the game. It was just the hardware itself, was just the DVD drive itself wears out. And I used it like what Wolf was talking about. I used it for movies. Like, that was my main DVD movie player. And so, and it was funny because it would still play DVD movies. It was the games that it was having a hard time with. And I think it had something to do with, because it would be searching. You could hear it go, wee, 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 like it was trying to find, like, what it was supposed to be looking for, and it wasn't able to find it. Whereas a DVD, right, it would find the spot and it just plays, right? It wasn't having to jump all over the place consistently. So I think that had something to do with it. But I love that game. And you guys remember playing those?
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Wales. Go for it.
I was going to say, I didn't play it much, but when you were just describing it, just strutting. As soon as you said that, I was like, that's exactly what it was in my head. And you're just cranking out the metal and just beating, throwing them up in the air. And it was so satisfying. And then you move on, it was great.
I didn't even touch on the fact that when you power up enough, you can freaking turn into a flying devil, and you have different abilities. There's so many layers into that game. It should, with its whole design structure, just sounds ridiculous. Like, there's no way this is going to work. And everything about it works. The sound, everything. Man.
Combo system.
Right.
Yep. And what's interesting about the Devil May Cry is it was originally supposed to be a Resident Evil game, but they felt like it went too off the rails. And in the past, Capcom actually canceled Resident Evil 2, restarted it, got rid of what they did have, and it's known now as Resident Evil 1.5. Same with Resident Evil 4. They were building that, and they canceled that, scrapped it. But with this game, they decided instead of just scrapping it, let's make a different franchise for it, and they're better off for it, because now they have Resident Evil, which is more survival horror, and then they have Devil May Cry, which is action, adventure, amazingness. And you can tell that they really dive into that as the franchise goes on, because it gets even more stylish. The cutscenes get even more outlandish. The combat is just insane. I actually like Devil May Cry 3 the best.
Same.
Virgil, awesome character.
Yep.
Yeah. Wolf, what do you think about Devil May Cry 3?
That it's my favorite of the three. I mean, I understand Dan's, like, for nostalgic reasons, that's the one he played. He gravitated to that, but I just thought the third, the special edition, like you said, Endgame, you know, the idea that you could play Virgil, like, I don't know, they had some time to kind of to make the game a little bit better. I thought they took a step back in 2. I did not
Yep.
like 2 at all. And then I played 3. I was like, whoa, they're on their game. It was faster. Like, the combos were more insane. The weapons were better. Like, it just, and to me, it was my favorite of the trilogy on the PS2.
Yeah, I agree. Like, so straight up, just so everybody understands, and I'm totally transparent and clear. I agree. 3 is the best version out of those 3 that we're talking about. I brought up 1 specifically for that first feeling that I got.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It continues in 3. Don't get me wrong. It continues in 3, and actually 3 has a lot of stuff. But I feel, and you can just play 3 if you want, but to get the, like, its origin, like what it started with, and it's still super fun, is the first one. Like, it's a great game, great series, and like you said too, Endgame, you were bringing up PlayStation or the Resident Evil 1.5. That was where, if any of you have paid attention and have saw my videos on Resident Evil 2 remake, the Ezra Walker, like, skin that you can get, which is like a motorcycle rider, she was actually the character that was in that 1.5. So so there's like a harken back to those that know, but then other sometimes they don't, right?
But I mean, Larson, that's how close Devil May Cry was to never existing.
Yep.
They could have just scrapped it, and maybe years down the road you unlock a Dante skin in Resident Evil 4 remake or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But instead we got this awesome franchise, plus the Resident Evil, you know, kept going as well.
Awesome.
Win-win for gamers.
For sure.
Right? Exactly.
That's like getting them pierced. That's what I'm talking about. It's win-win. Good both ways.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
It is.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll give everybody a clue as to my next game that I picked. Come here, boy.
God of War.
There
God
you
of
go.
War.
That is. Yep.
Mascot
Yep.
of PlayStation, Kratos,
There you go.
in all his
There.
glory.
There it is.
You know, and Dan's wearing the
Nice.
shirt. It's for me, like, we all have those nostalgic like moments. I remember, I don't know where I was at, but it was playing in a store, and I was like, what is this game? It's amazing. I was like blown away because I'm a history teacher, so I love, you know, the ancient Greek mythos and just how bloody and visceral it was, and just the weapons were cool. And I thought God of War was the cat's meow, and I still love it to this day. Played all the God of Wars, beaten all the God of Wars on the PSP, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. Well,
Right.
it's been around for a while. I almost
Yeah.
forget how many God of
20
Wars there
years.
were. It's pretty insane. But if you haven't played God of War, it's a mature rated game for a reason. I mean, there's like scenes where Kratos, in order to get his energy back, he does a menage a trois and a couple women, and I don't know, the bosses are bigger than life. The music is just, it just draws you into the game. The graphics were top notch because it was it Santa Monica Studios was they were on top of their game, and it's I don't know. I think if you have a PS2, you have to get God of War. And I'll just leave it at that. Any memories, folks?
Yeah, a couple of quick things. One of the things about the graphics is the scale. They would actually zoom the camera way in on your character, and then as you're going down this bridge to show how big this temple is, they would pan the camera out, and your Kratos would be really small. It really added to the immersion. And then, Wolf, you're a big fan. Have you ever seen this before? The God of War demo disc, the Hydra Battle demo disc.
I think I have that.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first time that I played the game, really, really cool. I was sold the second I played this demo disc. I was like, I have to get this game.
I bet.
Really awesome.
That's awesome, Endgame. That I love demo discs and like that hard to find stuff. Oh yeah, I think I do have that. Yep.
Yeah. really cool.
The I remember God of War. I liked the leveling up of the weapons, like being able
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
the kind of level them in a way, and then you'd unlock different abilities and whatnot with them, and then also, like you said, the scale of the battles, the scale of the bosses. Like you're speaking of scale, you're scaling half of them. Like you are
Right,
having to climb
right.
them. Now, then the one negative though that I still have, and it's still there, and it's only a slight negative. QuickTime events. I'm still not a fan of QuickTime events. I've never been a fan of QuickTime events. I think it takes me out of the game itself. But yet it's still being done, and don't get me wrong, I'll still do them. But that's if I had one drawback about any of the God of War series, it's those QuickTime events. I don't know. It's as long as they use them sparingly, I'm good with it. But like that Splatterhouse remake too, that was one of the what Wolf and you and I talked about that is
Mhm.
it's the QuickTime events, right? I mean, like there's only a few of them, but they're still not your favorite part, right? It's
No.
like kind of like takes you out of the game. I don't know,
Yeah.
and I'm glad they took them out of the Resident Evil 4 remake because we didn't need
Oh,
those in there.
same.
So
Yeah, I did enjoy them in God of War though because they had like graphic finishers when you ripped apart, like the
Mhm.
enemies and stuff.
Yep.
So at least you got a really good payoff when you did do them. So
Right.
when used properly, I'm okay with them. But if they're just going to throw them in there to sacrifice gameplay, definitely not a fan if that's the case.
No, they were era specific, right? Endgame. So that harkens back to a different, time period where that was the cat's meow to include QuickTime events, and and as gaming advanced and moved on, QuickTime events went the way of the dodo. So
Yep.
Right.
it has its place in gaming history, and I get it, but like Dan, I prefer to not do it if possible, and
Mhm.
that's why I love RE4 remake, because I love that they made the decision that that's from a different time. That's
Mhm.
2005, and
Yeah.
that's not going to hold up in 2023.
Right,
Right.
you don't necessarily need it to forward the narrative like they did back then. That's how
Right.
how they moved the story along, so you could see something
Mhm.
rather than just beating and killing stuff. It was you were able to see more of the movie aspect, the narrative whole
Yep.
story. They would use the QuickTime events for. Whereas now they'll just do it in movie scenes, and they can use usually like the same almost engine that you're playing the game in, so it doesn't pull you out anymore. Like if you didn't have QuickTime events, well, I guess back then the graphics were kind of the same too, anyways. But that's I when I look back, I think they used that to push narrative. That's for sure what I think
Mhm.
was going on there.
All right,
Sweet.
Wales.
Moving.
All right. So I'm going to switch over. We're going to go to one of my favorite fighters on the PS2. And most of y'all that know me know that I'm hardcore Mortal Kombat. That's my favorite fighter and stuff. But for the PlayStation 2, it is not.
Oh.
I do have them, but it is not. And so with my last choice with Time Crisis, that was Namco, which I forgot to mention. I'm going to stick with Namco. And I will still play this today for the gameplay, the fighting, and then I will also talk about the side game in it, and that is Tekken Tag.
Oh, it's such a great game.
Yep.
Love
Tekken
Tekken Tag. I will still play this in arcades.
Yeah.
Great game. Love that it has the vast amount of characters from the first three games. And the instruction manual was great with the art. It had, all the different, characters and a little bit of bio for each one in the game. I was a big King fan, still am.
Mhm.
Stuff like that, Jin, Barrack, and stuff, but just the amount of characters in it. And ooh, what is this bonus thing? Did I print off some? What is
Cheat
this?
codes.
Back in the
From
day.
codes.igm.com.
Oh
I have
yeah,
it.
game facts.
Let's take a look at this date.
What is it?
2002.
Oh my goodness. That's
Oh
nuts.
my goodness.
That was such a good
Secret.
game. Such a good
Yeah,
game.
it's the fighting with it, and then just being able. That's funny. I found that in there. Just the it added different elements to it. you could also pair with different people. So like for me, like King and Armor King, they had character specific tag outs. So instead of just flicking the right stick, you would just tag out. But if you had people that had some chemistry or, had some flow to it, King would like grab them, spin them around, and then throw them off screen. And all of a sudden there's Armor King for the superplex and stuff to it. Or Armor Kings he would pick them up and get ready to do an electric chair drop. And out of nowhere, King just does this flying clothesline from hell and takes them out and stuff. And then Jin and Kazuya also had different ones, stuff like that. But I mean, it was a great game. It played just like the arcade, beautiful graphics with it, perfect size sprites. And then beating the game, you would get the achievements. So you go back and watch the theater. I love the theater mode on it, like because there wasn't really ever any dialogue per se, not as much as others. But I mean, just watching the ending screens and videos was great, and then just the other playability. And I think I could be wrong, but I want to say this is the first game that was introduced was Tekken Bolt. I want to say
I think it was, yeah.
Yep.
I think it was, and I could sit there and load in the game and spend hours just playing Tekken Bolt. I loved Tekken Bolt. It was so cheesy of a concept, you would think, but it worked so well. And then once you unlocked more characters of the game, they became available, and each character has their different abilities. Actually, as a bowler, it's not just a one end all be all. You got your power throwers like Paul or King. You've got so like their needles moving faster because they're powerful, and the ones that aren't as powerful, they got the slower meter, but they're more accurate. Like some of your like Yoshimitsu's or Lei Wulong, stuff like that. So it was kind of its own separate game into it also. And I mean, that was when I got my system, that was the first game I got with it, along with another one that I'll talk about later. But I know Larson's played Tekken Tag and is a fan of it. I don't know about Wolf or Endgame, but any y'all
For
played
sure.
Tekken Tag or?
I played it.
And then they released, 4 and 5 also came out, and I've got those as well. But for me, it was always Tag. Tag was the best.
Great.
I second that. Love Tag.
Tag Endgame, you're it. You're up.
All right, let's do
There
it.
you
Look
go.
at that transition.
Right.
So next, I'm going to talk about a game that we kind of talked about earlier with Kingdom Hearts. It's Final Fantasy X. This is a role-playing game. If you're familiar with the PlayStation, there were 4 discs for the games, whereas this is on a DVD, so it's all on one disc. And they were also able to utilize the PlayStation technology. Instead of pre-rendered backgrounds, they had 3-dimensional backgrounds that your characters could go through. And then it also added voice work, which was a first for the Final Fantasy franchise. And it really elevated the emotion in the story. This is a very emotional story if you actually play it. So definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of story games. Some of the characters actually guest in the Kingdom Hearts game that Larson showed earlier.
Yeah.
So definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of good stories. And it did have a direct sequel, which was Final Fantasy X2. This is definitely a more lighthearted game compared to the seriousness of Final Fantasy X, but it is notable because it's the first direct sequel to a Final Fantasy game. And then real quick, the other Final Fantasy game that I really like on PlayStation 2 is Final Fantasy 12. Really good game, has an awesome Gambit combat system, worth checking out. But just wanted to real quick touch on some of these awesome RPGs on the PlayStation 2.
Woo! Amazing. That's a fantastic choice. I mean, all the Final Fantasies. I'm just a fan of Final Fantasies in general.
For sure.
But I do have to tell you, 12 was not one that I've ever played. So
really good game. You're missing out.
No, I'm not. I'm not missing out because I'm gonna play it. It's on my list. There's no missing out. Thanks, man, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. I am learning just like everybody else here. There's so many games out there, and everybody that we associate with there's such a vast knowledge of video gaming in general that I like to absorb just as much as I like to give it. So, all right. And so actually, I'm one of the ones that had the lesser amount of games that I was really going to talk about, even though I've played a lot of the ones you're talking about. But the last one I'm going to have is another one that I have to hold up an empty hand. And this game is definitely Dantron approved. Everyone will know. There it is. Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore. So this game, freaking awesome. You were able to use the multi-tap. There was 4-player, all of that kind of stuff. Here, let me tell you about why I like Dead or Alive so much, just quickly. And you probably, if you've watched some of my videos, you know that I like Dead or Alive as a fighting game series. Number 1 and number 2 for fighting game series is going to be Dead or Alive and Guilty Gear for me. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Mortal Kombat, I love me some Street Fighter, and I'm good at them. But as far as enjoyable, where everybody can get in and play, and the depth of how they play, Dead or Alive is still going to be up there for me because of their counter system. Their counter system is so easy to get into, and the games themselves are just beautiful. Now, Dantron approved because you have jiggle physics that you can adjust up. But that doesn't change the fact that the game plays phenomenally. Like, that game in particular, Dead or Alive 2, plays so good. All the Dead or Alives, really, when you start getting in, they all play so well, but their counter system is really what sets them apart. You got three choices. You got a high counter, you got a mid counter, you got a low counter. So if you're playing against people that know what they're doing, you're not just going to be able to button mash and come at them at the center. Nope, because they're going to counter you every time, and you're going to get just lit up. But those, when you take that extra layer in, you know, all right, I can't come at this guy straight up. I got to come. Maybe I'm going to come like I'm going to hit from the top. I'll let myself land because they're trying to counter you, and then straight punch and then catch them. Or you're going to come at them and you're going to slide into a low kick and they're not ready for it. So and then you open up the combos with that stuff. But yeah, it's a super fun game. It looks beautiful. Playing 4-player on that, being able to tag in and out too, was amazing. So, check that one out for sure. Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore for PlayStation 2 is amazing.
Okay. Well said. Well said.
Yes. So I want to ask everybody, we've hit a point where we're like 90 minutes in, and I still feel like I got like a stack of games like this big. I can't be recording, for another hour, because at this rate,
we'll have a part 2.
It's going to be too long.
We're going to have a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. So why don't we finish it, go around one more, just pick up one more game, everybody. We'll talk about those. Then we'll talk about what we would grade the system, as far as collectability goes. Because I agree with you, Wolf. I was already feeling it a little bit too.
Okay. All right. Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to cheat like a mofo here.
And you're going to throw 5 of them out right
everybody
now.
know. I'm going to cheat.
You can cheat.
Here we go.
It's your show, my friend.
Yeah, you run this, dude. Yeah.
All right. So this game is super good. It's a fighting game, unlike any game I've played before, and it's called God Hand.
Oh.
And it's by Clover Studios. They've done some good games. I think they did they do Okami? I think. They've done some really good games. But this one is really unique in that it's almost like an RPG, would you say? Like you're leveling up and you got all these cool special moves, and it had a story. It was very unique game, and I don't know. I just kind of gravitated towards it. It's unusual. It's expensive. This is $150 if you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely has become collectible.
Usually, when they're unusual, they're usually going to cost you more. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. So I'm gonna rifle through these real quick, and then you guys could comment on any of the ones that I'm showing. The next game
Here we go.
is Jitteru Man.
That's not Michael J. Fox, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Not jittery. Not jittery, man. Got it. Keep going. I'm sorry. I love Michael J. Fox. Don't get me wrong. Dude, I'm not knocking him at all. I love Michael J. Fox. I just want to clarify. What are we talking about? Jitteru Man. Got it.
You would love this, Larson, because it's the same style as Taiko Drummer. Or what Taiko Drum. Same like art style. It's a rhythm-based game. It's highly unusual. It's really funny. And I think it is without a doubt a hidden gem on PS2 if you like those type of games. And I want to say that this game is it's about $140, so it's $140.
Oh wow!
So it's a little bit on the pricier side.
You got some rare ones, buddy.
Yeah. So this is
That's
a really
how he rolls.
cool one. This is Sega.
For sure.
It's called Blood Will Tell, and it is really cool. Kind of plays like Onimusha. The Onimusha games. It's got a great weapon system. Bloody as all hell. Awesome story. Lots of fun. And it's Sega, which is really weird. So it's not like a like a small company, but it must have had a low print run. But this game is, what is this? I wrote it down. $400.
Oh, jeez.
Jeez.
I have never heard of that game.
Yeah,
So
you
Yeah.
know what?
Get that out on my arcade and try it out.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
PlayStation
Try
2
that
game
out on
almost
the
for a
Mega Cade.
PS5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
You know
This
what?
is a Megacade try without a doubt. You'll love it, Endgame.
I
Right.
It is so awesome. It plays well. It's fast. It's bloody. The bosses are great. Awesome graphics. It's definitely a hidden gem.
I don't need both testicles, so I might be able to. You know,
Right.
say-
Hey, I'm glad I can try it out on the Megacade and not spend that $400
Oh,
to give it a
yeah.
try.
Exactly.
Gee whiz.
Nobody would, and we've talked about this, Wales.
Yeah.
Nobody in their right mind would get that game, right? So this is an example of me being the collector that I was. I probably saw it at a flea market. I went, this looks unusual. I paid $5 for it, and look how that particular game has appreciated over the years. So
so
Oh,
we
it's
can
like
appreciate
a
them.
stock.
We
It's
can
like penny
appreciate it now.
stocks.
Yeah, that definitely
I mean-
stocks.
Man.
All right, my
Sweet.
next game is a series. I'm a big
Cool.
survival
Oh,
horror
nice.
fan. I know Endgame, Larson. You guys love survival horror games, Resident Evils,
For sure.
Clock Tower 3, you know,
Yep.
like all
Got
those
it.
games, Silent Hill. This is a great game called Fatal Frame, and it's Japanese. And what makes it unusual is you have a camera and you go around the world and you have to, like, you're looking through your camera to see like the demons or the ghosts, and it's got jump scares, and I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I've always liked it, but they're a little on the pricey side. I want to say they're a couple hundred each.
We
something
might not
like
even. You don't even have to say that anymore, Wolf, because you're just like
Yeah.
every game that you pull out is like, yeah, it's just gonna be a little bit more.
No,
pricey,
no, it's
so,
not true.
I mean,
I
it's
saved
a
the
little
best for last.
Okay, I'm ready.
bit. Oh,
right.
okay.
This is
Pocket change.
Nagasaki and Hiroshima. This is the nuclear bomb. This is Rule of Rose.
Ooh,
PS2. It's by
Sealed.
Atlas. You
Atlas.
said
Atlas, I see it.
Atlas, but Dan saw that it's sealed. It just so happens that when I got this, I was playing. I have ADD, so I must have played another game, and I never got around to playing this game. This is this is $1,200.
Oh,
Seal.
jeez.
I know, I can't believe it, and it's I don't know. It looks cool. I want to open it and play it, but there's not at that price. I'm not.
Well, you can play it
No.
anyways, not
Yeah.
without opening
Yeah.
that. So you're
Yeah.
fine.
So keep
Wolf,
that and let
isn't it
that
a
keep getting some
survival horror
interest.
Type of a game?
What's
A
up?
survival horror type of a game?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. It
I
is.
think I've tried it out back in the day.
Yeah. Is it good?
From what and not as good as Resident Evil or Silent Hill, but like those type of games. Fun
Yeah.
game.
Parasite Eve.
And then my last
Parasite
game-
Eve, I forgot about.
Oh,
I got you.
Yes.
Come on,
Dude. Yes.
I got to get in a shmup, Wales.
Um,
You know me.
Ooh.
Hey,
Shmup
that's,
us.
hey,
There we go.
you're the shmup king,
Shmup
and
it.
you got me hooked. So bring it on, brother.
This is a rare one. Not rare, but it's unusual. It's called Castle Shikigami 2. And it's so weird. It's like, do you guys ever play Paradis? Like Sexy
Yep.
Paradis? Or
Mhm.
like,
Yep.
it kind of is like that. You're a person and you're flying, and it's a vertical shmup. It's got really awesome graphics, cool power-ups. But if you're looking for a game to play on your emulation machine, whether it's Megacade or Pandora's Box, look this one up. Castle Shikigami 2. It is so much fun, and I think it's a hidden gem. All right, there, I'm done.
All right. Whew,
Perfect.
made it.
All right.
Go ahead, Wales.
Just
Yep.
Scrooge McDucking those games out and
If you-
everything,
yeah.
right? Just like
So
400, 200, 400, 1200, son of a bitch.
yeah, just Wales. Go ahead, and if you got multiples that you want
Alright,
to talk
here's
about real
my-
quick. I
No.
know.
Oh my
No.
God.
Gosh darn it. So yeah, but just go ahead, Wales. What do you got?
No, I'm just gonna show one game. I have some sports games, but I'm gonna save the sports stuff because I'm big into sports.
We'll
So
do
I've
another
got
one.
at least a few of those. So I will hold off on all sports for the next one. So I will just do one, and it is by far my favorite PlayStation 2 game out there. It started on PlayStation 1. It's the franchise is only on PlayStation, so that probably gives a dead giveaway to it. Great multiplayer game. It's just a hell of a fun time, and that game is it. Wait,
Oh, Legend of Zelda!
no. What? That's a prank. That's a prank.
You totally just lost feeling in your hand. Like,
Oh, I have to watch this hand twice
Yeah,
now.
right.
I can't believe.
yes.
Oh, I don't know how that got there. I'm so sorry. Anyway, not kidding around. It is going to be Twisted Metal Black. I absolutely love the Twisted Metal franchise. This game took it to a whole nother level. Oh God. And of course here, apparently I've got cheat codes in here for it as well, because it was a super hard game, but that's what made it great. God, 5 pages I printed out, also from codes.ign. Also 2/7/2012. So there you go. So I was in a cheat hunting mood back on February 7th of 2002. But anyway, this game to me is the best in the franchise so far. You could also throw up Twisted Metal 2 also up there, but this one, with its dark frame of mind, they kept it still true to the franchise, because the first 2 were done by Incognito, which made the first 2. Then 3 and 4 got switched over to 989 Studios, and they were but not the greatest thing. Well, Eat Sleep Play, which is who Incognito was, came back and did this back. So David Jaffe and his crew came back, and they did a masterful job. Kept the same characters. They changed up the story, so instead of Calypso being this demon or something that could grant you your wish for whoever wins and stuff, and the players were just everyday players. Now this game takes place in an insane asylum, so all the drivers are from an asylum, and Calypso is just some weird carny type of guy that goes and tells them, hey, you want something, do this tournament for me and win it. And it had different, it had the halfway theatrical story with it. The bosses were crazy. Minion was redone. He's my favorite Twisted Metal character. There was hidden vehicles in here that went back to the original games, like Warthog and Yellow Jacket, stuff like that. And they introduced some new people, but it's just the physics were great. The Easter eggs were awesome. The multiplayer, just playing against your friends, just with the 4-cross screen, or even the co-op. It had a co-op mode and everything. So I mean, that is just such a well done game. The controls were great. You were able to drive with the right thumbstick as opposed to pressing buttons, and it's just wonderful, wonderful game. Favorite PlayStation 2.
Yeah, and I love the endings in those Twisted Metal games. They're twisted and awesome.
Oh yeah, that was the point. You've got to watch how you word things.
Yep.
We'll twist your words, pun intended.
Don't get this twisted, but that is my favorite Twisted Metal game as well.
Same.
Yeah, straight up. And exactly what you said. The story of it being from an insane asylum, that how the you wanted to beat every single character. You wanted to beat the game with every character so you could see what really the end movie was. And the controls, everything about that, the atmosphere of the game was spot on, like just awesome. Like, everything about it. There wasn't one thing that you could look at and go, you know what, they probably could have done this a little better. I could not find in that game. I cannot find something negative to say about that game outside of the fact that they just need to have more like it.
Is that the last Twisted Metal game too? Have they made it?
No, there was. It was just called Twisted Metal, and it was on PlayStation 3, and it was made by the same people, Eat Sleep Play, but it was awful because they went and I don't want to get too much into it, but they put more of an emphasis on online play as opposed to story mode, which to me, story mode is what made these games. Because like Larson said, you wanted to beat it with everybody to get their endings, and everybody had different weapons and abilities and whatnot. And so to me, this should have been the last one. They were going to make a second one, but it ended up getting canned. Twisted Metal Black 2, something City. I can't remember what it was, but on the head-on game, you got to play the demo of what they had built on it, the first 2 levels, and it was really good, but nothing on PS4. And the rumor, last I heard, is they're trying to do the PlayStation 5, which hopefully it happens, but it will not be David Jaffe and his crew, and he's been very vocal about that. So,
and it'll have battle passes and microtransactions.
Oh my gosh, stop!
Oh, I'm sure of it.
No.
They'll put a whole new slew of people in, and then for those like me that love the originals, that'll be your DLC, where that's where they're gonna Yeah,
Lame.
bastards.
Yep. All right,
All
Endgame.
right. I'm going to bring it home with a 3-pack, so I'm kind of cheating. PlayStation had these Essential Collections, and this was one of my favorite franchises, the
Oh.
Metal Gear Solid Collection.
Yeah.
I had all 3 of these games original, but these actually were special artwork for the covers. And then it also had the Substance and Subsistence versions. Now, you guys already talked about Metal Gear Solid 1 on your PlayStation Retro Law. Andy Bibb did a fantastic job. I'll lay at the SmackDown talking about this game. This game, back to your point, Wolf, about backwards compatibility, this is just the PlayStation 1 disc. There's nothing special about this, so you can play this on PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2.
Ooh,
So the 2 games that I want to talk about is Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. This was a technical showcase for the PlayStation 2. The graphics, the cinematics were amazing. They always showcase these trailers where they would show like a bar with individual glasses and bottles of wine, and you could shoot each individual thing, and it was pretty revolutionary at the time. And of course, anybody that's actually played this game knows that after that tanker mission, the rug gets pulled out from underneath of you, and you're no longer Solid Snake. You're riding this brand new character. It was a very divisive maneuver because some people hated it. They felt like they were lied to. Me, I was along for the ride. I've never played a game where I thought I was playing as Mario the whole game, and halfway through he gets captured, and now I'm Toad, and I'm like, "What is this game? Let's find out." And I just thought this game was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
The last game is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and this game is a prequel to the other 2 Metal Gear Solid games, and you're actually in the Cold War out in the terrain, so you have like trees that you can hide in with camouflage. The grass, you can hide in it. You can actually hunt your food to keep your stamina and your health up. And the story was absolutely heartbreaking in this game. I don't get too emotional with my video game stories, but this game has a really heartbreaking story if you pay attention. But the thing that I want to talk about in this game specifically is there's this boss battle against this character called The End. And he's this 100-year-old sniper. And basically he's sleeping all day, all night. They only wake him up to hunt you down in this jungle, and kind of like Winter Soldier from the Marvel movies. And I just remember there was this awesome cutscene, and I'm in this massive jungle. I have no idea where this guy's at, and I'm sitting there crawling inch by inch by inch. And I spend 45 minutes on this boss battle, hunting him down through multiple screens, finally get him behind him, hold gunpoint to him, and shake down his camouflage. I was like, this was an amazing boss battle. But what was really cool about it is Hideo Kojima had all these like interesting twists and turns to this battle. So like if you saved it halfway through the boss battle and then return a couple days later, The End will have had enough time to sneak up behind you and knock you out, and then he brings you to this prison. So now you have to escape from this prison and then get back to the boss battle and take him out. But Wolf, I think you probably know about this other thing, is if you save it during the boss battle and then come back a couple weeks later, The End will actually have died of old age, like while he's waiting for you to come back.
That's
and
awesome.
you just skip the boss battle altogether, which was amazing. And then the last thing is you can actually skip this boss battle altogether. So earlier in the game, there's this cutscene where the villains walk him out or take him out in this wheelchair. And as the cutscene ends, you have a split second. If you pull out your sniper rifle, you get a headshot on him. You finish the end right then and there, and you don't even have to do that boss battle later on. And I just think, Hideo Kojima just does these amazing things with his games that no other games do. And this game really stood out to me for that. So Metal Gear Solid 3, definitely recommend it. Great story, great gameplay with the camouflage, awesome little things like that boss battle. I'll always remember that.
Sweet.
So what do you guys think about Metal Gear Solid?
Woo!
Oh,
man. I
Everybody
love
loves
Metal Gear Solid.
Everybody loves Metal Gear.
Yeah, I mean, y'all talk about the demo disc. I still have my PlayStation Pizza Hut demo disc that had because it was right before it came out, so you got to do the whole first level of Metal Gear, and I always thought it was the funniest, coolest thing to sit there and get a cardboard box and walk around or hide in a cardboard box and sneak up on people. And it's just, like you said, revolutionary. It's just amazing.
Shoot,
amazing game.
Wolf, what's your alert noise on your phone?
Oh,
mine is
somebody's got to text me.
Hang on. So we're doing it live, you guys.
All right, Endgame, you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, hang on. Oh, you're waiting for me. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I was
no,
like, I was like, oh, you're waiting for me. Okay, yep. Test.
that's me. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Did you hear it?
No,
did
it
not.
can't sound
No,
canceled.
I think if you have background
Oh.
You
noise,
gotta
if
turn
you
it
have
off,
background noise
silence or
suppressed,
Wolf.
it'll take it out because I have the same thing. The
Oh.
whole alert, the exclamation point.
You got to
That's
be
mine.
making noise.
It's the
Yeah.
Metal Gear, you know,
Yep,
like
yep.
doo-doo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to.
You got to go
Yeah.
hide or try to stand your ground. But what I liked about the Metal Gear Solid games is they really rewarded stealth gameplay. If you got spotted and you tried to fight them, you're probably going to die. So it was worth your while to go hide and reassess the situation and try again.
Yeah.
For sure. Good choices. All of you guys, great choices. We're definitely going to have to do one or two more of these because there's way too many games out there. So this will just be, we'll call this the PlayStation 2 special. Yeah.
Just flybys
Yeah,
for Will.
PlayStation 2 special 1A, right? So, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys doing this. Now, let's quickly, I'll just start with me. What do I see this as a collectible system? What am I going to give it a grade for? For the ease of hardware to find, most people probably already have it. They've made tons of them. The games are, for the most part, very cost effective. The peripherals are still out there, and it holds up well. I would give this definitely an A grade for a collectible system. It's not, of course, Wolf showed some of those crazy games that are super, but majority of them are not that expensive, and a lot of really good games are not that expensive. Like even that like Twisted Metal Black is probably going to be a little bit more on the spendier side, but not like $100 spendy. So and just like anything else, you can get just the disc, and then you'll save a little bit of money there. So what do you got?
$25
Yeah,
for
see?
Twisted Metal Black.
See, I consider that comfortable, and that's a great game for that. So again, Dantron grade for collectible for retro system. PlayStation 2 is definitely going to be right at an A for me.
Okay,
What you
and
got,
for
Wolf?
me, it's for all the reasons you said, Dan. I mean, you could find systems everywhere. Any flea market that I go to, you could almost guarantee you're going to find a PS2s, whether it's the fat, the original edition or the slim. Tons of controllers could be found, lots of peripherals. I've seen gun con 2s at flea markets. We talked about this, 4,000 plus games. They're littered everywhere. It's a very collectible system. It's fun to collect for. I would say it's probably impossible to get a full set, but it's just, there's so many great games for it. So I would give it, I'd probably give it an A as well, an A- or an A. There are some really expensive games, but if you look at the percentage of expensive games to the 4,000 total, it's a small percentage. So I'd say A.
Right on. Go ahead, Wales. What you got?
I don't need to say anything. Y'all hit the nail on the head repeatedly, like an electronic hammer. So I mean, I love this system. It got me through it. It got me through college and stuff. It just different types of games. You can find them anywhere. And most of them are between the 5 to 20 range. Your more popular ones, depending on condition, are expensive and stuff. But I mean, it's a great system, still holds up today. I'll still play them today, and they're still just as fun now as they were 15-20 years ago. So I mean, absolutely an A, and I hope my machine just doesn't crap out on me. So
Well,
But you can
we'll
get
see.
another one.
I'll buy another one.
Yeah,
oh
you'll
yeah, you
find
can find
another
another.
one.
That's true. Yeah, but still, I mean that one means something to me, just because, like I said, it's for like all of us here, it's nostalgic reasons. It brings back memories. It brings back different time period, and it's just an amazing system. Sony, I mean, I love the PlayStation, and then PlayStation 2 just hit it out of the park.
Agreed. And another neat thing about collecting for PlayStation and PlayStation 2 is because of the memory cards, it's always fun getting a used memory card, sticking it in your system, and seeing what the previous owner played. You get some interesting stuff, like if you get me or Wales or Larson, pretty standard stuff. If you get Wolf, you don't know what you're gonna get on that memory card.
I got
Definitely
some
worth
weird
it.
stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna have to consume a gummy to understand the language and lingo. It's
That's
like
fine
a
for
side
me.
quest.
Yep. And another neat little thing is this is the era where they started doing HD remasters of this. The PlayStation 2 was easier to do than what the PlayStation 1 or the Nintendo 64 were. So you see a lot of these games, like the Metal Gear Solids have been redone, the Devil May Cry's, the Final Fantasies. So
Silent Hills.
Yeah. So if you don't have access to some of these games and you don't want to go collect the old systems, you could probably play a lot of these games on your modern system as well. So definitely agree with you guys, though. Definitely worth checking out. There's so many games. And like you said, some of the more obscure ones, maybe you can find some other ways to play some of those and just collect all your favorites, that you grew up with.
Yep,
Definitely.
Gotta catch them all. And
Yeah.
There you
unless
go.
we're talking VD, you don't want to catch any of those. That I'm just
No.
gonna...
No.
So,
No.
all
Or
right.
the clap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, not everyone should have scabies once in their life. I don't care what Peacemaker says.
No.
So, no. So, all right. Thanks again, guys, for hanging out. Wolf, Wales, Endgame. This was a pleasure to see you guys. I hope we get to do this again. I know we'll come back for another special on PlayStation 2 for sure. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. So take it away, Wolf.
Oh, yes. So, I'm going to give 2 plugs today. All right. I feel it's necessary. One is to our new friend, Endgame Arcade. I hope that, you continue to hang with us and,
For sure.
Be part of our shows. I mean, if you ever need a guest for your channel, Endgame Arcade, I would love to do that. And I'm sure Wales or Dan would love to do that as well. Please, if you get a chance, subscribe to Endgame Arcade. You can find him on YouTube. He does some really cool stuff. The last one I really loved, the TMT Raw Thrills Quarter Muncher episode. And he's very thorough, gives great history and background to his games, and I've really enjoyed his channel. So, please check it out, subscribe. Same with Dantron69K. He's turning out like videos like a madman. Like you said, Wales, he was double fisting yesterday. There was like a couple Resident Evil remake videos, and he's doing all sorts of walkthroughs and gameplays. He's really got a cool channel, and I enjoy checking it out, hanging out, and commenting on his stuff. So, do us a favor. It only takes a second to go to Endgame Arcade or Dantron. Click a like and subscribe, and it really helps both of them out.
Yeah, thanks. Really, really appreciate the plug, Wolf. And this show, I didn't know any of these guys when they first started this show. I just happened to stumble upon it on YouTube. I'm like, this show's really cool. I watched it, commented on it, and they invited me on just because I'm a fan of the show, and I really appreciate that. So definitely take the time, subscribe to this channel. There's some awesome stuff coming in the works. Definitely want to stay tuned and hit that notification bell and see what else Larson and Wolf have in store.
Right on. Thanks again,
Very
guys,
nice.
and until next time.
Peace.
Later.
See ya.
Later.